How many expired listings are viable? What I mean by that is how many that pop out and you're looking at, do you actually want to pursue? If you want to talk about that, you're in the right place. Let's chat. Hi, I'm Mike Cerrone with two listings per month. And what I'd like to chat with you here real quickly is expired listings and my research on them and my experience now and what I think are viable uh, expired listings versus non-viable. Let me define that. You got to kind of understand what I mean there. So uh, I'll get a list. I have a service that helps me get the expires. In the old days, I had to do it. And then when I got an assistant, I had my assistant do it, which is go out and research all the expired listings, pull them down. And you can still do this. You pull them down, you get the information, and you clean up the list. And then you go out and you do the research to get your contact information, right? Your phone numbers, your addresses you like address. What do you mean? Well, if they're non-owner occupied, you got to get the non-owner where their actual mailing address is. You're building out this database of contact information so you can reach out to them, right? Even if you're just doing all owner occupied, you got to get the database, you got to get the information, you got to put it in a mailing system if you're going to do mail. If you're going to do phone, you got to get in, you got to research the phone numbers, you get the idea. So I've got this service that's providing this. There's a whole bunch of great ones out there. And I've got this service that does it, and I get the data. And then I wanted to make sure it was a clean list. Okay. If you get into, I'm doing a lot of direct mail. If you ever get into direct mail, you want to have a good list. In fact, any kind of marketing, whether it's direct mail or social media or email list, phone list, any kind of list that you do, you want to make sure it's clean. Because if you're sending the right message to the wrong people, it ain't going to work. It ain't going to work. Like if you're a mechanic and you're sending it to people that don't, your message, you're sending an advertisement, you're an auto mechanic and you're sending a message to people that don't own a car, you're kind of wasting your time, right? Okay. So we want to make sure we have a good list. I want to make sure I have real expireds that could hire me. Okay. And so what I do is I take the list each morning and I review it. And by the way, in my area, originally I was only getting like two or three. Then I was getting five. Now I'm getting usually around 10 to even 20 a day. And if you hit the first of the month, you're going to get a huge batch, maybe up to 50. Or I think I had 88 last month that we hit a first. So it's growing. By the way, that tells me the market's slowing down as well. But anyway, if we get that information, I want to research it. I don't want to spend my money on people that can't hire me. So okay, think about that any way you want. I'm trying to reduce my cost, but really I'm trying not to waste my money. Okay. I will spend money on an opportunity, but I won't spend it on one that's not, if I can stop it. And I'm also learning more about my market. And so I went out there and I got a list, and each morning I check the list and I go ahead and I find out who's viable. Let me give you an example. What do I mean by viable? So here's an example. I will get duplicates. First, you want to take duplicates out so you don't double mail or double contact. So because in my MLS, they're not supposed to, but some agents will list it in one section with in the same address in another section. So for instance, I think it's residential versus residential income, right? Residential income is supposed to be an investment property, but they, for whatever reason, they'll list it in both because I guess they think they can find multiple people. And so when my information comes out, I have two listing numbers, but it's the exact same property. And so if I were just to blindly take that and dump it into my system and mail out to them, I'd send two mailings to the same people. I'd bug the snot out of them and it wouldn't be any good. So I got to take duplicates out. There's an example. Here's another example. What I'll find is that they did the two listing thing. They did the agent inputted into the MLS twice, and one of them expires, but the other one closed. So they sold the property, but they only put it in the one MLS listing. The other listing they forgot to change it to closed or sold, and so it becomes an expire. If you didn't do your research, you're mailing out to a property that's not even an opportunity anymore. Does that make sense? All right, so I'm removing those. In my list, I also remove other groups. I remove corporate owned. If you're a big giant corporation, I'm not personally going after that. You could, and it could be a huge opportunity, but I'm not personally going after that. My marketing is not geared to that. Agent owned, we get agent owned. Believe it or not, there's quite a few agents that are listing their properties, and you can see in my service their agent owned. Why would I send to them? They're not going to hire me. Okay, so I got to make sure I remove those. Others I'll find. I'm in Metro Denver, and so if we get up in the mountains or we get way out on the plains, we'll get well and septic or large pieces of land with a house. I'm not interested in listing those properties. You certainly can if that's your area of expertise, but I'm not an expert in those, so I won't do those. I'll also see brand new construction where it's actually a builder listing. They're not going to hire me to sell their home. I have no relationship with them. My marketing will not work with them. Maybe if it's a small builder, I've represented a couple of small builders in the past, but it's a very niche thing. It's an exception, and I'm just not pursuing that at this point. So I'll remove those because you can see them when they come in. What else will I remove? Also, just any property I'm not interested in. Sometimes I'll see a property as I'm doing my research, and you're just kind of zipping through a minute on each one. I'll see where they've done a really ugly addition, or I saw one the property had been half burned out. They were trying to sell a half burned property. Okay, if I was young, maybe I'd take that on. I was young in my career, but I'm 30 years of my career. I don't really want to deal with that. Flooded properties, I've actually been involved in those before. Anyway, if you're reading any of the notes, other things you'll do, because I'll glance at the notes real quick, I'll find that in the private comments, you'll learn that the listing agent is the son or daughter of the owner. It's not going to work. You're not going to get that listing, so I'm not going to pursue that. Oh, here's another one. They leased it, they rented it out. In my MLS, we have a rental section. It's not well used, but it is used. And so you'll actually be able to see when you look at the history. By the way, you're glancing at this stuff really fast to just look for red flags. But I had one today where they had leased it. They had tried to sell this house for $800. They couldn't sell it, and they leased it out for $4,000 a month. So they leased it, and they had the lease date, which was like a couple weeks ago. I'm like, that's not going to work. They have a tenant in the property now, and I have sold properties with tenants, but now you got to sell it to an investor, and now you're looking at ROI calculations. Anyway, it's a different transaction. I hope you're getting the point. I clean the list. I get rid of all the junk and try to focus just on the people that can actually hire me to sell their home. So now the big question is, what percentage of that is good versus bad, or opportunity versus no opportunity? And what I've discovered is approximately a third. Okay, so about a third gets thrown out and only 2/3 remains. Much more than I ever anticipated till I got into this, but you should know that as you're cruising along. So about a third are not going to work for various reasons I just listed. And 2/3, though, are left over and they look good. Okay, and you're going to pursue them. I'll give you an example, one final example. This morning, I had 16 expireds pop up on the radar. 16 popped up. In the review, 9 of them did not work. 9 had to be removed, and they were put out, okay, of the system. And so what does that leave me with? 7. 7 worked. 7 moved forward out of 16. Whew. So that's even more than half. Now, remember, it's ratios. Some days you have more than others, but I just want to show you, if I had mailed all 16, I would have wasted money on 9. So even at my low cost of basically $4 to $5, that's it's almost 40, $50 that I would have wasted by just not taking my time to do a quick research. Okay. And by the way, eventually, what I would do is I would hire an assistant or a virtual assistant to do this scanning and research for me as an extra level. By the way, the service that I have is great because they call it all down to get it to this point, and then I just do the final review. Believe me, because I've done it before where I've done everything. And yeah, you can do that, but now you're spending a whole day researching these 16 rev. I get the 16, boom, right at the beginning of the day, and then I can take an hour or whatever and research through it and make sure it's clean and get it into the system properly. And then again, I can hire someone down the line to do that also. Okay, so that's what's going on there. Hope this was helpful for you to learn about this question of what percentage of these expireds are viable opportunities. If you found this interesting, give us a thumbs up. Go ahead and like this video so we'll do more like it. And then if you got any comments about what we chatted about, go ahead and put them down below. Have you done this before? What kind of research have you discovered? Do you think this makes sense or not? Do you appreciate us doing this kind of research for you? If so, go ahead and drop it down in the comments. Really would appreciate that. All right, hope this has been helpful. Take care. Bye now.